The 49ers Rams preview will be coming up live from SoFi Stadium next on the Jack Hammer Show. Hello, everybody. This is Jack Hammer, and you are live at SoFi Stadium, where today, in about 3 hours from now, the San Francisco 49ers and Los Angeles Rams will do battle. Big contest for the NFC West. 49ers right now a game behind the Seattle Seahawks going into the day. Right there with them is the Rams at 3-3. It's going to be a really good matchup. Let's go through some of the top storylines as we look at this game today. Number one, can the 49ers overcome the loss of Deebo Samuel? This is going to be a huge piece of this puzzle today. Deebo Samuel has had big games against the Rams in every meeting that they've had since he joined the team in 2019, especially 2020, 21, and then in the first game this year. It's going to be loud behind me. That's one of the fun things about SoFi Stadium. It's extremely loud. It's actually quite annoying in some ways. It's a beautiful stadium, but the noise is just deafening at times. You see some highlights going on right now. Let's see if we can get through this. Hopefully the noise isn't too bad for you guys on your end as much as it is over here. Probably coming through, though. The 49ers going to be without Samuel, and they're 4-7 without him. That's a big number for the 49ers. They had 11 games without him since he joined the 49ers. They've only won 4 of them. Look for Christian McCaffrey. He's going to have to fill some of Deebo Samuel's roles, especially when you look at it in the running game. You would think that Christian McCaffrey should be able to do that best. McCaffrey is actually a better runner than Deebo Samuel, so that's going to help out on that end. But in the receiving side, that's the part that makes me a little wary on this one. Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, like I said, very similar players in that McCaffrey is going to be able to fill that run game void. He's going to be able to fill some of that void in terms of the screen game and those types of things. But what you're going to be missing is you're going to be missing Deebo Samuel's route running, his pass catching down the field. He's had some big receptions against the Rams on passes down the field, not necessarily deep down the field, but in that 5 to 10 to 15 yard range that he's been able to take to the end zone. We saw that last year at Levi Stadium. We saw it earlier this year at Levi Stadium as well, and also last year when the teams play down here. So big game in that way. So really quick, want to shout out a few folks. We've got Lucas Pesci, who's in the house. He's with us from Austria. He's a member of the Toolbox. He says, "Hey Jack, nice background." Hey, can't beat it. SoFi Stadium right here. Good background today. I'm standing right next to in the end zone, right next to the cameras that are going to be shooting those end zone shots that you get during the game today. They're right here, right next to me. Let's get them over there. So those are the cameras that you get during the game that show those end zone replays and those types of things. So that's where I am right now, the third deck. Just to my right over here is the press box. Right there, that is the press box in the corner. So I'll be heading up there in a few minutes after the show is over with, and we'll go from there. We got Willie Rodriguez in the house. He says, "What's good, Hammer?" Willie from Union City, New Jersey here. Love the show. Hope Shoe getting better. Enjoy the game, and let's go Niners. I hope Rob's doing better too. I noticed that he liked my picture that I took from the parking lot today. So we know that he's up. We know that he's moving around. I haven't had a response from him, but we know that he's feeling better. It looks like a little bit, at least good enough to get on Twitter and check in on the goings on from SoFi today. Right now, the atmosphere is quiet, other than the noise that they keep pumping through here as they work on their pregame, the game flow for what they do on the mics. But you can hear the noise. It's the noise that they pump in here from the acoustics is so much louder than anywhere else that I've ever been. So that's the one thing. The energy will be crazy. I'm sure fans will be getting let in here pretty soon. And once that happens, I'll try to catch some video of that for you guys as well, so you can see what that looks like. E. Kim comes in with a question, says, "Will Kyle make any second half adjustments on offense?" Well, he's going to have to make a lot of adjustments, E. Kim, and that's kind of what I was talking about. I'm not even saying just second half. Overall adjustments. No Deebo Samuel today. There's a high likelihood that Jawan Jennings won't be playing either. If Jawan Jennings is out, that means the 49ers receiving core is going to be really limited. in terms of what they've done in the past. Brandon Ayuk is one, what Brandon Ayuk brings to the table, but beyond that, the 49ers receiver core today, if Jawan Jennings does not play, will come in with only 8 catches for 118 yards and 1 touchdown on the season. All of that from Ray McLeod. So the 49ers activated Tay Martin, rookie, yesterday. So he's activated. Willie Snead was also signed to the active roster. So right now, I would say it looks like it's going to be a pretty good bet that you're going to see Tay Martin and Willie Snead active today. We already know that Deebo's out, and it seems like it's trending in the direction that Jawan Jennings won't play either. So the question is, how is Kyle Shanahan going to adjust overall? That's going to be really the interesting thing. And, I'm driving down here today. I drove from Northern California down today. So a nice 4.5 hours in the car, just kind of thinking about, what this game's going to be like. And I'm really excited to see how this game plays out. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how the 49ers can generate offense. It's going to be a lot on Christian McCaffrey, I think, a lot on Brandon Ayuk. And I think you're going to see a lot on the shoulders of George Kittle as well, because those other receivers, like I said, they're unproven. Danny Gray hasn't caught a pass all year on 6 targets. Willie Snead, I don't think, has been targeted at all. Same thing, Tay Martin hasn't been active, so he hasn't been targeted. So it's going to really come down to a lot of George Kittle, a lot of Brandon Ayuk, and who else is going to step up. So I think it's going to be, quite an interesting matchup for the 49ers on offense to see how Kyle Shanahan puts this game together. So that's really what it's all about for me. So that's a great question. The adjustments in the second half, we'll see. I thought last week that they were fine. These guys are super loud. My goodness. Let's go. But it's super loud in the stadium. That's one thing. If you've never been here, what I'll say is it's one thing to have the crowd noise, but it's a beautiful stadium, but the volume that they pump into this place is just I stood right here for the NFC Championship game, and it was so loud. By the end of the game, I had a headache, which is fine. I'm an old man, so maybe that's why I had a headache, and I wasn't drinking to get rid of that headache. So maybe that's the deal for me. Kim also asks, Jack, do you actually see Jeff Wilson getting traded? I can see Jeff Wilson getting traded. The 49ers are going to have to move a running back, most likely, because right now they have 4 on the roster, and when Elijah Mitchell comes back, that's going to give them 5, and they're not going to carry 5 running backs on the active roster, I don't think. So are they going to get rid of Jordan Mason? That's the question, because it's going to come down to you're going to have McCaffrey, you're going to have Wilson, you're going to have Elijah Mitchell, you'll have Jordan Mason, and then they have the one other back as well. So they just have so many guys. How are they going to fill all those spots with these running backs as they move forward? So I can see them trading Jeff Wilson if they can get anything from him. We know going into it, when they made that trade for McCaffrey, we knew that they were going to have to move somebody. I think that could be Wilson. It all depends on what Elijah Mitchell can do. If Elijah Mitchell is healthy, then and he can stay healthy, that'll be fine. It's an interesting quandary that they find themselves, and but I also think it's a positive. And then as far as your question on my expense, nope, I can't expense anything. All the travel that I do is on my dime. So when I went to Chicago, that was all on me. Coming down to LA, this is all on me. If I go to any other road games for the 49ers today, that's all on my dime as well. That's why I do these shows. That's why I get a little bit of pay from the newspaper for what I do, but they don't cover my expenses. So that's why all the super chats and the views that you guys give me here are so welcome, and I appreciate all of it. Tevin Coleman isn't gone. Tevin Coleman was released, but he was re-signed to the practice squad. So he's on the practice squad. They didn't elevate him for this week, so he's not elevated. He's not possible to play today. Super chats do help. Super chats don't help as much as the views, though. The views are what really draws it. The super chats, those are good, but YouTube takes their cut of it. The views are where it's at. So the more people that watch, the better it is, and that's why you see us try to do so many videos and get so much up there. McClinchy will be played today. No, I haven't seen him working out on the field yet. Usually, sometimes you'll see him down there. I haven't seen him out there yet, but not. McClinchy will be playing. I didn't think there was any question on him. So uh, as far as other players on the trade block, there's no others that are known to possibly be moved at this point. So as that information comes up, I'll make sure to talk about it on the channel. But right now, the only guy that we know of that could be on the trade block or the Flyers are open to would be Jeff Wilson Jr. The one thing, though, that I will say is the 49ers, if you ask them, they're going to tell you they're always open to trading anybody. It's about making that deal make sense for them. So we'll see where that goes. We got a couple of days after this game. I think Tuesday is the trade deadline. So after today, it's going to be tomorrow will be a busy day, I think, and then early morning on Tuesday. So keep an eye out there. Kev wants to know who's going to get the targets with Deebo out. I think some of Deebo's targets are going to go to Christian McCaffrey, right? Christian McCaffrey's going to be the guy that's getting the screens and those types of things today. You'll probably see a little bit of that with Brandon Ayuk as well, but primarily it's going to go to Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey had a big game down here just a couple weeks ago when the Panthers he was still with the Panthers. He was just here 2 weeks ago. Put up about 150 total yards between running and passing, receiving, I think he had 7 catches for 80 yards, and he had about 60 plus yards on the ground. So he had a good day there as well. So, he's had success against this team. We know what the 49ers want to do. I think the targets they mostly are going to go to Deebo, or from Deebo will go to Deebo's targets mostly going to go to Christian McCaffrey. And then typically the second guy that gets his targets is Ray McLeod. If Deebo leaves, it's usually Ayuk and McLeod. So you might see some of those go to McLeod. He has like 16 on the year, 15 or something like that. Only 8 catches though, and he has the 1 touchdown. So we'll see how this works out. Ty Davis Price, that's the other running back that I was missing earlier when I was running through the names. I always forget about TDP. I guess his performance this year hasn't been enough to make me remember who he is. But so in terms of the offense, that's going to be the big question. Overcoming the loss of Deebo Samuel. Like I said, with Jennings not on the field, you've got Ayuk, and we'll see what happens with Danny Gray, Willie Snead. I thought Malik Turner would be active, but instead they went with Tay Martin. And like I said earlier, that group is combined for only 8 receptions for 118 yards. Ray McLeod with all those. The other big question today is, without Deebo Samuel, can the 49ers offense move the ball on the ground? We've seen this. The 49ers have success on the ground against the Rams in the past. They didn't have success in the NFC Championship game, however, but they did in both of the regular season games last season, as well as the regular season game earlier this year at Levi's in Week 4. And the 49ers, it's interesting. Without Samuel, without Jennings, without that receiving core, the way I look at it, this game sets up perfectly for Kyle Shanahan to get back to the identity that people think of him as, which is a run-first guy with play action coming off of that. You look at the 49ers, and they opened up the season with a couple of big games. The first couple of weeks, they ran for 365 yards in those 2 games. So some big rushing numbers. But since then, since week 2, over these last 5 weeks, the Flyers have rushed for only 480 yards. And the main reason for that drop-off has been the play calling from Kyle Shanahan. He's chosen to pass a lot more than run. You look at by the numbers, it's 63% pass to 37% run. And it's not just when the 49ers have been behind. He ran the ball more early on, threw the ball more early on last week against the Chiefs last week. The 49ers were had a little bit more rushing than passing on their first 2 possessions. And then after that, Kansas City scored to make it a 10-7 game. And from that point on, even though the 49ers held a lead, they went away from the run. They threw the ball 70% of the time after their first 2 possessions through the remainder of the first half last week. So they definitely got away from the run. So we'll see how this works out. I think it's going to be interesting. Hopefully they can get back to that run game. I think that really works out well for them. I think, one of the questions here is, not only do they not have Deebo Samuel, not only do they possibly not have Juwan Jennings, but we know they're also going to be without Kyle Juszczyk. And, Juszczyk is a big part of what they do on offense because in a lot of ways, Juszczyk is their second best tight end. He's their fullback, but he's also their second best tight end. And he allows them to do a lot of creative things when they're in 21 personnel with, 2 running backs and 1 tight end. It's really like they can move him around and make it like they're in 12 personnel and so on. This week, they're not going to be able to do that. I think we're going to primarily see Ross Dwelly be the one who replaces Juszczyk in the backfield. But don't be surprised to see Jeff Wilson Jr. back there with McCaffrey as well. That's something that we've seen in the past. You go back to last year when Deebo Samuel stepped into the backfield. Remember, it was against the Rams at Levi's. But throughout the second half of last season, even at times this season, we've seen Jeff Wilson Jr. be used as a fullback or kind of in a quasi-fullback role for runs by Deebo Samuel. So I think there's a possibility that we're going to see both those guys on the field at the same time. I wouldn't be surprised to see Christian McCaffrey, Jeff Wilson out there together. Wilson's actually has that versatility. He played fullback when he first joined the 49ers, so he has that experience. So he can step in and do some of that stuff for them. And it's really, I think Wilson might be a little limited on that today, just from the standpoint of the other backs and how comfortable they are with giving carries to the other backs. So is it going to be heavy Christian McCaffrey today, or is they going to try to balance that out with Wilson? So those are some of the things. And I think we'll see Brandon Ayuk, run a sweep or two. Maybe even Ray McLeod during training camp. They have McLeod running some of those, jet sweeps and some of that same stuff, because he's really, like I said, he's Deebo light. He's the guy that they envisioned, I think, as being the backup for Deebo in a situation just like this. So this is going to be an interesting game to see what Ray McLeod can do as well. So a lot of interesting moving parts of this game for the 49ers on offense that are really making me look forward to this game. This is going to be really, I think for me, I'm looking forward to the chess match. How is Kyle Shanahan going to get this offense to score more than 20 points? That's the number that they've gotten to against the Rams in their victories. They only got to 17 in the NFC Championship game and lost. If they'd gotten to 20, it would have gotten into overtime. So for me, I look at this game as the 49ers need to get to 20. If the 49ers get to 20, this thing goes into overtime where the 49ers win. If they don't, it's going to be a Rams victory. So I'm going to pull this one up. Cam, you're talking about McGlinchey. Didn't Chris Furster say that McGlinchey's not mentally strong enough, or did I misunderstand that press conference this week? I think you misunderstood it. I don't know. I'll have to go back and re-listen to it and look at the transcript. I find it hard to believe that Furster would say that McGlinchey isn't mentally strong enough. But that, again, I didn't hear that in his words, but I'll go back and double check, and I'll hit you up on Twitter and get you the answer over there. Raphael 5629er is a great member of the Toolbox. Says like and subscribe, everyone. If you could, that would be great. You guys know people that are 49er fans that want to hear as much as they can about the 49ers. Hook them up with the channel. Let them know about this, and it's free to join, free to watch, and really appreciate everybody that does that. I do think that we're going to see Danny Gray today. It seems like they just try to get him out on the field and give him deep shots. They did that last week. We'll see. Danny Gray's going to get on the field today. How much of an impact he makes, that's to remain to be seen. But Danny Gray will be on the field today. I don't know. I should probably ask Kyle about playing rookies, because it seems like every time you challenge him, he ends up starting to do that stuff because he doesn't like to be challenged. So maybe we ask him about that and see if he takes the challenge and decides that he wants to play the rookies. We'll see. The other thing today on the offensive side, just kind of sticking with that side of the ball really quick before I move over to the defense, is the 49ers offense going to be able to clean up its mistakes? That's been the biggest thing. I know the easy talking point here is Kyle Shanahan in terms of his play calling. It's Jimmy Garoppolo because he's the quarterback. But the 49ers issue on offense is much bigger than just either one of those guys. It does fall on a lot on Kyle Shanahan because he's the head coach. So when you talk about the offense making mistakes, that's execution, and that goes on to the head coach. That goes on to your offensive coordinator. Both those roles are handled by Kyle Shanahan. So it's a big piece of the puzzle, right? Is Kyle Shanahan's ability to get the offense to not make the mistakes, but I think there's so much of the focus is on the play calling. We're missing some of the bigger piece of it. And the doors have opened here at SoFi. That's what he was screaming about. So the fans are going to be coming in here. So we'll be able to get a good look at all of the 49er faithful that are coming through the building here pretty soon. But on the offensive side, they need to clean up their mistakes. The 49ers offense is tied for the 5th most penalties in the NFL. They have the 2nd highest percentage of dropped passes in the NFL. And they're tied for the 2nd most fumbles as well. And if that's not bad enough, they have the 9th highest interception percentage. So that falls on Jimmy Garoppolo. So when you look at this thing, it's the offense near the top when it comes to drop passes, near the top when it comes to being penalties, near the top in fumbles lost, near the top in interceptions. So there's a lot of negativity on this offense as far as mistakes go. You go back to the 49ers success against the Rams, and it's been all about being able to clean up those mistakes for the most part. In that first matchup, the 49ers were nearly mistake-free, and they didn't turn the ball over once, and they committed only 5 penalties. Not too bad. You know, the other thing with the 49ers is I talked there about the lost fumbles and the interception percentage. Winning the turnover battle is huge for the 49ers. Since the start of last season, they are 14-3 when they either win or are tied in the turnover battle. So if the 49ers turn the ball over twice and the Rams turn the ball over twice, the 49ers have won 14 out of 17 times in that situation. But when the 49ers turn the ball over more than their opponents, they've only won once. That's happened 10 times in which they've done that. They've won 1 game. So when you look at the 49ers record over the last 2 years, it's all about turnover margin. If they lose the turnover margin, you might as well chalk it up to a loss. And that's going to be a big piece of this game today for the 49ers. They've got to clean up those mistakes. Those penalties really slow things down on offense. They take away big plays. They make them have to work twice as hard to get some of that stuff. So it's going to be really hard to do that. And that's what Kim says here again. He says, it's tough playing against the other team, let alone yourself, when you're dying by 1,000 cuts with penalties and turnover. Absolutely. And that's what we've seen a lot of from the 49ers over these last 5 weeks. That's why they're part of why they're losing games. Also, I think a big part of it is because they're throwing the ball too much. So that's the offensive look at this game today. Now, let's take a look really quick at the defensive side, and then we'll wrap this thing up because, like I said, it's going to get a little bit crazy in here with the fans, and I want to get some of that for you guys as well. Couple of big things on the 49ers defensive side today. Can the 49ers pass rush return to form? For the first 5 weeks of the season, the 49ers pass rush was dominant. Led by Nick Bosa, the 49ers sacked opposing quarterbacks on 12.2% of their pass attempts. So that's a big number. That was one of the tops in the league. 12.2% of the time when the opposing quarterback dropped back to pass, they were down by a sack. It's been a different story these last 2 weeks, though. Between Atlanta and Kansas City, over these last 2, the 49ers have managed only 3 sacks. That's 6%. They've gotten to the quarterback half as often in terms of sacks. They haven't hit them as much either. So that's a big piece of it. And that pass rush not getting the quarterback is one of the big reasons why the secondary has been so porous. And I know they lost Emmanuel Mosley, but and they've had some issues there. But they were part of what makes this team good is their ability to get to the quarterback. Even here at SoFi Stadium in the NFC Championship game, they didn't get to Matthew Stafford and drop him enough. Not like they did at Levi Stadium or even here in the first matchup that they played down here in both the regular season games. That NFC Championship game, the pass rush was lacking a little bit. Stafford was able to get the ball out a little bit quicker. They weren't forcing them to have to hold on to the ball at all. And so that secondary, they need that help in the pass rush. And you look at what they've done or what they've allowed on the pass side over the last 2 weeks, it's been pretty awful for the 49ers defense. 49ers opponents between Marcus Mariota in Atlanta and Patrick Mahomes last week at Levi's have completed 79% of their pass attempts against the 49ers for an average of 11.5 yards per attempt. They have 5 touchdown passes and only the 1 interception. That interception coming on the Chiefs' first drive of possession of the game last week. So now they have Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp. And, even though Stafford struggled this year, throwing an interception in 5 of the Rams' first 6 games, he and Kupp can help carry the Rams' offense and put up numbers in a hurry. So we're going to get to a little bit more of that in a minute. But Sunday, this is a get-right game for the pass rush. The Rams, they've allowed Matthew Stafford to be pressured on 24% of his dropbacks this season. When the 49ers and Rams played back in Week 4, they pressured Stafford 30% of the time. They were able to generate pressure on him. So that's a big piece of this game today. Can the 49ers pass rush get some pressure around them? They're not going to have Eric Armstead. But so can Nick Bosa and Samson Ebicom and the other replacements in the middle, probably Charles Omenihu and those guys, can they put pressure on them? And I would expect to see the 49ers in maybe a lot of nickel, a lot of dime today. There's the 49ers don't have Dre Greenlaw on defense. So maybe you're using Jimmy Ward as one guy in the slot, and then maybe Sam Womack on the other side. I'm not sure how this matchup's going to go for them because they don't have they didn't activate Jason Verrett. But get pressure on him. Put pressure on Matthew Stafford. Good things happen because he's going to put the ball in spots for your defense to make plays, and you've got to put pressure on him though for him to do that. If you can put pressure on him, catch the ball, and you're in a good situation. Hey Christian, good to see you at SoFi. I don't know where you are in the stadium. I'm over here on I think I'm on the south side of the stadium, right behind the end zone. I'm up on the third deck. I'm going to be heading up to the press box here in a few minutes. Let's see what else we've got. So that's the pass rush. And the other one on the 49ers defense is getting at Matthew Stafford, forcing mistakes. That pressure on Stafford, that's the great equalizer. Stafford's given, like I said, he gives opponents opportunities to take the ball away. He threw an interception 2.8% of the time last year. Right now he's at 3.6%. He threw a pair of interceptions the first game. One of them returned for a touchdown by Hufanga. That was what blew a game open. It was 17-9 at that point. It was kind of tight. The 49ers had just missed a field goal. So, the 49ers need to take advantage of any opportunity that Stafford gives them today. When you look at this, a lot of the talk around the 49ers when they face the Rams is stopping Cooper Kupp. He's their top target. Kupp's targeted a whopping 19 times the first time these two teams together. 19, think about that. That's 3 games worth for any 49ers receiver. So Kupp was targeted 19 times. He had 14 catches for 122 yards, but he didn't score a touchdown. When you look at this game from a 49ers perspective, like I said, you keep hearing about the 49ers needing to shut him down. You're not going to shut Cooper Kupp down. He's going to get his catches. He's going to get his yards. The key when you play against the Rams is all about keeping everybody in front of you. Don't let Kupp be the guy that gets behind you. Make him have to catch everything in front of you, rally up and make the catch. When the game last year, the NFC Championship game, the touchdown that beat the Rams, the 49ers, what happened? That's right. Kupp got behind K'Wan Williams for the touchdown. He wasn't kept in front of him in that one. So you got to keep everything in front of you with them. And then, if you do that, you're forcing Stafford to have to be consistent all the way down the field, something that we know he hasn't shown against the 49ers. Like I said, he's going to give him chances to make a pick. So make him throw the ball as often as you can. So the key for the 49ers defense, keep Kupp in front of you. And then if you can keep them in front of you, you've got to rally up with the other guys because you got Tyler Higbee, Allen Robinson. Higbee comes into this game. I look at Tyler Higbee as a big focus for the 49ers, or a guy that can really cause the problems for them. He's a chain mover in this offense. 16 of his catches have been for first downs. So when you look at Higbee, that's a guy that you really got to worry about moving the chains. He was moving the chain. He moved the chains well for him against the 49ers at Levi's as well, moving the ball down the field. But again, all those plays to get there, they're able to play tough in the red zone and force field goals. And they're going to force field goals all day long today. I think that's, pie in the sky to think that they're going to force nothing but field goals today. But if you can hold these guys to 16, 17 points right in that ballpark, you're in a good position today. Allen Robinson also is another guy to watch out for. Allen Robinson had a slow start, but he came on really strong against the Panthers a couple weeks ago in their last game. He had 5 catches, all of them for at least up for a first down. No touchdowns, but a lot of first downs for Allen Robinson in that game. So is he going to be able to continue? If not, you're going to be worried about Kupp and Higbee primarily. So those are my thoughts on the game. Just kind of want to check over here real quick. In terms of my prediction, I'll give you my prediction real quick. I think it's going to be 49ers 23, Rams 20. It's going to be a really tight game, I think. These games are always close. I don't see this being a blowout in any direction. Even the game at Levi's last year that was 24-9, excuse me. I said after the game that was an ass kicking, but it was still tight though because the 49ers missed a field goal, so they were still up by only a score. But I got 49ers 23, Rams 20 today. I don't know how the 49ers are going to get 20. We talked about that earlier, right? It's going to be a lot of fun. So it could also be a loss. I don't know which direction it's going, but I'm going to tell you this: the 49ers get the 4-4, head into the bye. That's about as good as you can get. If they're 3-5, especially if the Seahawks are able to take care of business against the Giants today, you might as well stick a fork in them because they're going to have to win the NFC West in order to make the playoffs this year, just based off of the way that the NFC is looking right now. So those are my thoughts on the game. Really quick, we got Tommy Huxley. He's coming in. He's going with the Rams. He says Lambs 27-21. Kevin says, evening, Jack. Totally agree. Need to watch Cup. Hope it's a ward on him. Emmanuel Mosley's out, so he's not going to be able to be out there. He's on injury reserve. He's out for the rest of the year. So it's going to be, the 49ers don't match guys. So you're going to get Charvarius Ward on him at times. You're going to get probably Deommodore Lenoir. We'll get some of the run on him. So we'll see how this one works. And then as far as my kids' game, they lost the game, but the cool part was he caught a sack. So he came on strong towards the end of the season. He played offense. On offense, he played tight end. On defense, he was playing some defensive end, some defensive tackle. He enjoyed playing defensive tackle more. He's a little bit more of he's not the most athletic kid. He's working on that athleticism. Poor guy got my athleticism. So he's working on his footwork. He's working on his speed. He struggles a little bit at defensive end. Just for a decent job at it, but he's a little bit more athletic than all those guys on the inside. So he's able to get around and he got a couple of sacks in the last couple of games, but he did in that game. The team lost. They're done. They don't make the playoffs this year. But he's already excited. He's looking forward to going into high school next year and being a freshman and doing a lot of work with his brother in the weight room and working and running. So I'm looking really forward to watching that. So that's my little spiel outside of the 49ers today. Thanks for asking that question, though. I'm sure I just embarrassed the heck out of him for all of his friends that watch the show. But like I said, we're here at Levi at the SoFi Levi South. Hope you guys enjoy the show. If you missed it, hope you check it out. Otherwise, I will be back after the game with a post-game show, give you my thoughts on the game, give you my wrap-up. You guys, before you head out, if you can do me a couple things, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Also, go to 49erspressdemocrat.com. The Inside the 49ers blog over there, 49ers.pressdemocrat.com. I will have a live blog going on throughout the game with analysis and updates throughout. Hit that like button, hit subscribe. Those are the things I need most. I appreciate everybody that takes the time to watch this. See you all later. Have a good game. Enjoy the day. Take care, everybody.